Hello YouTube, this is Justin Game 44 here, and today I am here to talk about Hocus Pocus 2. Now, I got to be honest, Hocus Pocus 2 was definitely a great movie, but not great as Hocus Pocus 1. And well, I'm here to talk about that. In this movie, we get a flashback to seeing Winnie and her sisters. They weren't really that popular compared to the rest of the of her people because really, they were simply just different. They weren't like everyone else back at that time period. They were in a way kind of ahead of their time, but later on they become people that start eating children for their youth. They were all going to be separated because of the village, but they escape and actually go into the woods to actually find a witch who gives them the spell book because she sees them good enough to actually be witches. Now, nonetheless, we that gives us the origin of the book. We also learn about Billy and Winnie's love story. Turns out they did nothing more but share one kiss in the graveyard. Although there's a few questions. Why did Billy even kiss Winnie to begin with if it was just one kiss and they were never actually lovers? But nonetheless, that's the backstory. And with this, we have three new characters. This story with all the characters are not really special, I would say, though. I mean, it's something I guess I could believe it in a way for one who's an idiot, one that's just a typical love story that wants to hang out with this guy more than our friends. But let me just say this. There are three main girls in this, and the one is a witch who has powers when she turns 16. The second one is basically the friend who stands right by her. And the third one is basically that popular girl who basically was once friends with them, but ditched them and became friend and became had a god boyfriend, became popular and started throwing parties at her house. But still really does care, but her other friends don't really see it besides one of them, but the other says, nah. The popular one still wants to hang out with them, but they never ask her, but they want to, or that. And the jerk guy, who is also the boyfriend, turns out he's not a jerk. He was just very confused, like, oh, I thought calling someone weird was a cool thing to say to people. I owe many people an apology. And turns out the witch thing, it doesn't get really explained. I mean, the whole other thing when a witch turns 16, they get their powers. Which, yeah, but how come? And the next character is basically this over-obsessed fan who owns the shop of the Sandon sisters. And it turns out the surprise twist was he was there on the night when it all happened. So he tells the story of it. He has the book as well. And when the witches come back, because he was able to make the spell, he was able to make the black flame candle and give it to the two girls. And nonetheless, the sisters come back and they run a rampage again. So that was good. Now, I gotta be honest. What do I think about this movie, really, now I explain all of that? Really, truth is, you may have noticed I didn't really mention the characters' names. That's because they're kind of hard to remember in a way, because I really was not into the backstories. I was interested at first with seeing them at school and talking, but then it got boring a little bit after. Because as soon as they summoned the sisters and Walgreens, like, yeah, but like the witch thing, you're a witch. How do you have magical powers, or how do you have this? I mean, it could have been easily like explained if they had done like just a quick story, like her ancestors were witches, were at the Salem witch trials and survived, but that was because they were actually witches and somehow they don't have to do like a full backstory, just like something to say, oh yeah, one of the things I'm obsessed with being with these witch stuff is because I had ancestors who were put on trial but luckily survived, type thing. Which you kind of get the point there. Like they don't really explain how she has the powers, why she is a witch. I mean, at the very least, they could have just did like a simple explanation, something like what I just said. But nonetheless, the whole entire Foley thing, he doesn't really get that much screen time when he's out of school. But after all that drama, really, The popular girl's father is like obsessed with candy apples. Of course, he cares about his daughter. But still, honestly, other than that, really, these characters are not memorable that much as compared to the first cast where you have Max, Thackeray, and all those other characters as well. Now, nonetheless, what would I say about that? About those characters? Well, really, it was interesting. You had one that was the family moved into a new town they were completely not ready for. One kid just simply did not believe in magic and thought, hey, it's not a big deal. But in a way, there was a lot of interesting story that came with it as well. Between the two siblings' relationship, as well, we see a bunch of other things with it. The rich popular girl, not just the rich popular girl, but still, there's a bunch of other things that just comes with all this. And all honestly, it's like, hmm, I could do a whole entire Hocus Pocus 1 review, but I'm here to review the new one came out. But nonetheless, that's kind of the point. With Hocus Pocus 2, the characters are like all simple. Like, we don't really get that much deep into them. Yeah, they just had the only big thing was they were just all friends, three of them. But then when this guy came, she wanted one of them wanted to hang out with him and became boyfriend and girlfriend. And she started throwing parties, but she still wants to be friends. But the other two feel betrayed, while one of them though at least still thinks she should give them a chance, while the other said nah. But but the other one but the popular girl still wants to hang out with them, but she's waiting for them to ask. Maybe I should wait until they ask me, or basically it's that type of thing. She's not really present, but she does eventually get powers along with the other girl because magic is supposed to be shared, which that's another question. Wait, you have magic that's supposed to be shared? Now, okay, that's kind of the point there. So basically, we have three witches versus three witches. Now, none of the characters really come back besides Billy and the three sisters. I really was not a big fan of Billy's and coming back though. I mean, okay, good, but really, besides him, the three sisters were basically every time we saw them on screen, they were basically on top. They were actually really good. I can't deny that. Now, nonetheless, when the three sisters and everything, I love their singing. Their acting was incredible, and just literally every part of them. The witches are back, or one way or another. They even wanted to do a third song if the people would allow them to. Now, we get a bunch of references from the first movie, which I was surprised I actually noticed, but dang. Not just a bunch of references, but a bunch of references to what modern day has instead of 1993. Yeah, since it's been 29 years, there have been things different. Now, besides all that, really, back in the flashback, though, there was this fourth witch that gave them the book I said earlier. But she gave them a warning to use one spell, never to use that spell, actually. And what it does, it gives them ultimate power, but it comes with a big price. They didn't read it by the time at the end of the movie, and when this all happened, well, this is kind of the problem that many people had with the movie. And it's kind of the reason, in some way, I already saw this ending coming way before, like almost in the beginning, in some way, where you start really feeling so sympathetical to these villains that should not be. You feel so sorry for. You're crying, you're hoping something good happens, because after all the horrible things they've done, no, they don't really deserve it. I mean, yeah, like what happened when they were kids, it's understandable, and the revenge thing, you could understand it, but then they continue to do such evil, bad things to a bunch of people, like what they did in the first movie. They kidnap a child and suck her life energy, and she died. They cursed factory beings, and he could never be with his family again with eternal life. And I mean, really, all of that, you think that's forgivable, where you think we should feel so sorry for these characters now? And especially they were trying to do the exact same thing again. Only this time they were trying to get ultimate power along with it. Now, I gotta be honest, there was a lot more comedy with this as well. It really was not a bad choice. Like, it's a fun movie, really. And really, what happened with the whole entire twist with the price was you take something away that was most important to you for ultimate power. And basically, Winnie lost both her sisters, who both turned to dust. And she wanted to be with her sisters again more than anything. She was even willing to give her own powers for her. So the three friends actually, used the spell book and actually undid the spell, but the spell didn't bring back her sisters, Winnie's sisters. It sent her to them, and she thanks them and blesses them, and then she goes back to the afterlife, now in peace, and the book cries. Speaking about the spellbook, in a way, has a bit more personality compared to the first one. He was just like there, where he would just do an order command, like if Winnie says make myself known, like tell us where you are type thing so we can find you, or book come here, book just comes right to her, just like an object obeying command type thing. Here, the book has more personality where the book refuses to give Winnie the spell, and or the book cries at the end where he misses the sisters, or the book chooses the three teenager girls over Winnie and her sisters because the book chooses to be with the good ones. Honestly, though, I don't really consider the book to be truly evil because, like, it's just a book filled with spells, but it made its own choices. It chose the witches because they were witches. They really wasn't much of a choice. But when there were good witches, and seeing what Winnie and the witch sisters were doing, she chose to go with them. Now, nonetheless, Billy and the Overexist fan, Billy eventually gets to be put back to rest. Which, oh wait, did I mention him? Oh yeah, Billy actually comes back in this and turns out, well, he's back from the dead. And he was never put to rest, actually. Which, that's kind of scary when you think about 29 years you were underground, and okay. Now, it turns out they shared one kiss that was that, Winnie and him. And when the sisters' eyes and everyone found out the truth about their real relationship, he finally could put to rest and return to dust as well. Now, after that, the spell book belongs to those three girls, and really that's how it ends. It's kind of honestly a disappointment in a way, because I would have been more excited if they went more deeper with a few things in this. But in the same time, I'm like okay with it. Like, we also got a few references like from Wizard of Oz with the hourglass, with the three sisters forcing the Overseas fan to gather the ingredients for the spell they needed. Well, that's how much time you have type thing. Anyway, this movie was enjoyable. The ending was alright. I was already expecting it for some reason, and I was right. Because I kind of thought that we would feel something more sympathizing, or the character, or they would have not do the evil thing and maybe did something good for a change instead. I was expecting that, like I said earlier, and really, well, in all honestly, this movie, despite not being as great as Hocus Pocus 1, because really, at the ending of Hocus Pocus 1, the three sisters were struggling, trying to do anything they can, which, in all honesty, they could have won right there if they weren't going after Max's sister. Instead, just used the children that they were already at the college. Seriously, when you think about Winnie wanted revenge so badly, so quickly on that one child who insulted her, instead of waiting to make more potion, and after getting the children they already had to survive, really, she just lost right there and then. But also, like the whole entire drama of preventing and the sun is slowly coming up in the last few moments. Yeah, that's kind of like the way it went, and then the sisters lost because time ran out. Compared to this ending we got in Hocus Pocus 2, where they made a mistake with the spell, not realizing what the price was, and sadly they didn't listen and they paid the price. Winnie wanted to undo it, but because of that, she had to give up her own life to go back to be with her sisters. Now, in all honesty, like I just said, this was honestly my own opinion. Hocus Pocus 2 probably won't be as great as Hocus Pocus 1 that I can see many people saying, but nonetheless, it really was still an enjoyable movie. I did find it really funny. There were a lot of moments I wish I could have talked about that I like, but it was still not that great. I mean, the best part about this movie was the three sisters themselves. I mean, every scene with them in it, the songs, the acting, the performance, it was like time did not even went by 29 years. It felt like they were still doing the role right after they did the first movie, which, wow, I'm actually impressed. And the three actors who played the younger versions of them did a good job as well. Nonetheless, this was still a good movie. Not as good as Hocus Pocus 1, but good nonetheless. Anyway, this is Justin Game 44, signing out. Until then, I will see you all later. Bye.